nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum of 4 out of 7. So we can carry on. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Do anybody have any corrections? No. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Have a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Secretary's not here, I signed it. Is that legal?
You can sign it. I think we'll be fine. They just won't get posted by all parties.
Hasn't down here either. It's not down here. Okay, we have no old business. New business. Number 1, or A, site plan review, Silver Charm LLC, addition of 3 apartment units located at 1150 Lincoln Street. This is also a public hearing. Do you have something you want to say, or?
Just leave it up to
Okay.
the engineer to make the presentation.
Man, we'll give you guys a couple. They have them, but a little bigger. This shows where we're at. Additional cost for this. Okay. One is sad.
Popular, is it me?
Good evening, I'm Dale Cruz, Cruz Consulting. My office is in Avon at 7384 Business Center Drive, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Dwayne Lane. Dwayne owns the property here that we're talking about, and Dwayne has a desire to build on the property 3 duplexes. And in doing so, on the sheet that is called the demolition plan, there's a building in the middle right here that says remove existing building, and that building is a garage. There's I don't know, 12 or 14 bays garage space in that building, and that building would come down. And then there's the crosshatched area that's over here beside it right now is a parking area that's just laid down asphalt where currently people park. And so the proposal is on the other sheet, and the proposal is to add 3 duplexes, which are these three squares. They'd be 2-story townhouse units, and they would fit in behind the existing buildings. So they're single-story buildings that are in the front, that front onto Lincoln Street and front out onto Mackey, and these would sit in behind those. And access would be through the parking lot that's already there, that's behind those buildings. And then the darker shaded areas would be parking spaces that would be added for this project to support these units and make up whatever difference or shortcoming we may have in the units that are already there. So basically, those parking spaces added in addition to the parking spaces already there would be the parking spaces necessary to support what's there plus what we'd be adding with these six new units. So, and also there's a detention pond area, drainage area that's behind, that's kind of to the north of this, behind the parking lot now. And all of this new drainage area would drain into that pond. That pond, for the amount of surface area that we're adding, basically as far as the pond is concerned, is negligible. So we're not proposing to do any improvements to the detention pond. We're just going to let it be like it is. We might clean the detention pond out. There's an area down in the bottom of the pond that doesn't drain real well, so we might fix that area that doesn't drain in the very bottom of the pond, but it would just be for the sake of making the property mowable versus not being able to maintain it as easily. But it wouldn't be necessary for this project. I don't have anything else to add other than that. So the proposal before you this evening is that we would request approval to build these 3 duplexes, basically, is what we're asking for.
Which sewer ladder, are they hooking onto the sewer that goes north off of that property?
Correct. It's the deepest one out there.
Pardon?
It's the deepest one out there.
Talked about that the last time. Excuse me, so I want to clarify that.
And that's by far the deepest one, the most likely to get to by elevation. Oh, and water service, while we're talking about utilities, water service for these 3 buildings would stem off of the 2 buildings that are already there. We'd pull service off the 2 buildings that are already there. There's a central mechanical room in each one of the existing buildings that's there, and we would drill, bore up underneath the building into that mechanical room and connect into the lines that are there.
So
So,
there's no additional meters required.
correct.
Burn one of them. Jimmy?
Yep.
And what's there right now?
What's where? On the
Buildings
property?
you're taking down?
There's one building that's there now that we're taking down, and it is a long building that's a garage. And it has 10 or 12 parking bays and garage doors that are there now. It'll be gone.
For the building that's in front of it, you mean?
Yeah.
So how does that work? Do the people who live there get so many spots? Do the spots go with a unit? The
They're-
parking spots?
The parking spots, they're not reserved, but
Yeah.
there's a calculation that the zoning ordinance tells us how many parking spaces are required for a 1-bedroom apartment and how many parking spaces are required for a 2-bedroom apartment. We did the math, added them all up, and made sure we had that many parking spaces on the property.
But they're not assigned, somebody can't hog all the spots, or?
I mean, they're not assigned parking spaces.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a landlord's problem, it'd be Dwayne's problem if he had a tenant that just was hogging parking spaces. But
Yeah.
they're only 1 or 2-bedroom units, so I only pack so many people in a 1 or
Yeah.
2-bedroom unit with a vehicle.
Question, Jim?
All these 2-bedroom duplexes,
The new ones are
Townhouses.
2 bedrooms, yes.
do we have a rental amount?
A rental amount?
How big are the apartments that are in front? Are those yours, Dwayne? They're each 1 bedroom. They're small. Yeah.
Formerly known as- Really?
Well, I just haven't been paying attention.
You buy them off a Major, Franklin? Anybody else, got any questions? Since this is a public hearing, I'm gonna open it. Got anything else you need to say? We'll, open this up to the public. If you have something you want to say, please come forward, your name and your address, and, talk about the site.
Hi there, my name is James Turpin, live at 1026 West Lincoln Street. When I saw this earlier, I didn't understand that there would be 6 apartments added, but in addition, on the far right of the drawing, there is another building missing, runs north and south, and has additional apartments. Want to see the picture of this. There is another building missing. I don't think they're intending to tear it down, move it. Building on the right has a different, another structure to it that runs north and south. So there are additional apartments in this area, not shown. I'm pleased to hear that the sewer usage will not be an additional burden on Lincoln Street. Very much appreciated. There is nothing mentioned about adjoining landowners having a privacy fence added so as to prevent foot traffic or other activity, which all the neighbors have complained about. And if it's not kids coming into the yards, it has been bullets. I'd like to see a solid privacy fence surrounding all of the apartments. Thank you.
Does he still have to come in for preliminary plat? Yeah.
Yes. Just for clarification.
Same owner?
Well, there are certain requirements on buffering.
If it's from one use to another, yes. Potential.
Screen, required to do some screen between you and the other property owner. Anybody else have anything to say?
Urban was in the office. Did show some pictures. It's apparently somewhere, and I don't know if it's on this site or if it's on site, but it's where 2 fences together, but they don't actually meet. People can get in between fences, and so there are issues with kids or whomever doing and beer cans and things. I don't know that it cushion.
Wayne, are you planning to do anything about a fence? Separate your properties from the others? Or? Anybody else have anything to say from public? If not, public hearing portion is ended. Gentlemen? Do you have any questions come up in your mind since? Asked it?
No.
We have three choices. On action on this site plan. Approve the site plan, deny the site plan, or approve the site plan with conditions. Those are our choices.
So there were three things that Walt listed here. The interior and perimeter parking area landscaping, which meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, must be provided. Parking lot lighting must be provided, including specifications of the type proposed. Petitioner's intent for providing water service.
Yeah, have those three items been addressed?
I think what he's talking about is our discussion on doing some landscaping like in the, there's three items, okay? So the landscaping in the islands in the parking lot. The ordinance actually discussed.
So, of these three items, the water service is taken care of. Eliminate that. The other two, I would think in the motion, be, approval would be subject to the other two items be dealt with. That would be how I would, motion be worded to be subject to two items, 1 and 2 of all readers.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan with the two items listed on Walt Reeder's engineering review letter and the following two items.
We have a motion to approve the site plan review, subject to the 1 and item 2 of Walt Reeder's letter.
I was gonna,
Oh, it is? Oh,
gonna let him get
I'm
their
missing
second,
the
and then I
letter.
was gonna,
See if I can
Interrupt.
find that letter. Got the other one.
it's the one that I laid in front of you tonight.
You sent us a separate email with that, didn't
Yes, and I sent it via email.
you? Okay.
Is that for the other property, though?
That's the other
Oh, is that on
property.
the other one? Okay, I'm sorry.
This one's in your packet, right behind
Yes,
page summary.
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
that's right.
And it has
6 items.
one of them, the others are very minor items.
Just read that. So it's really those 5 things plus the 2 on the.
I don't have this letter. So we can eliminate number 4.
The parking that's there now, how is that lit? Is it lit? Or is it? Every unit. Light sensitive.
So I guess the motion should be subject to the approval of the items from Banning's letter of June 6, 2019, or Walt's letter,
Okay.
plus those 2 items, one on the parking and one on the parking lot lighting and one on the landscape.
Yes. Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
You want to say it?
We'll let
They're
it go
so
like that.
easy.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Well, get to call a roll call, since you're taking the minutes. You, yes. Something new
Oh,
for you.
can I have a roll call, please?
Well, you just ask Jim.
You're in charge. You don't have to ask us.
Start with Jim.
Roll call.
Yeah, just say
Jim,
yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Cody.
Yes.
Hey, you didn't have to do all 7 of them.
Yeah, thanks for taking.
What would have happened if we'd had these turned over?
I know everybody.
Oh. Very good.
Here.
So, motion passes. That out of the way and get the other one out. Oh, I found that.
Yeah. You found the letter?
Yeah, I did. By the way, this is the minutes. I'll put them up there before I get them embedded in all my stuff. Okay. Item number 2, site plan review, Big Lot. LLC indoor storage facility located on south side of County Road 75, east of County Road 150 east. That's not what you're gonna call it, is it? Big Lot? Okay.
Storage? Yeah.
actually have two letters.
I saw that.
There's one in the packet, one that was passed out before the meeting. The latest one, June 7th. Yeah, those are the only items left. That's not correct.
Again, for the record, I'm Dale Cruz, Cruz Consulting with my office at 7384 Business Center Drive in Avon. And again, I'm here on behalf of Dwayne Lane, who is the owner of this property, who named this property Pig Lot for the obvious reason that it's what it was when he bought it. It was a pig lot. So I gave you the aerial photograph because I want to make clear that we understand that Dwayne owns 3 parcels here, but the petition before you this evening only affects the single parcel that's to the west, the bigger parcel that's to the west, and it only affects the northern almost third of that half, I guess, northern half of that parcel. There's a creek that kind of runs diagonal through the property, and it's the area of the property that's north of the creek. It's hard to see on that aerial photograph, but you can kind of see where the creek runs on the 2 single parcels to the east, and it basically runs on that same angle through the property that we're talking about this evening. And what we're talking about is the north side of that creek. So Dwayne's petition this evening, and what we're asking for this evening is approval to build 6 self-storage buildings. Dwayne's gotten in the business of providing self-storage and found it to be a pretty successful business adventure for him. He has 3 locations, one west of Danville and New Winchester, and one just west of the high school on 200, just west of 200 West, and then another one on 200 South and Cartersburg Road, basically. And they are basically full. What he's built is basically full. So what it's proved is there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff that they can't store at their properties, and Dwayne likes to provide them a place to keep it. And this petition that you have before you this evening would allow him to provide more space for boats, more space for RVs, and more space for just general household goods. These 2 buildings in the front would face 75 South, and then these buildings that are interior here would all have doors on the side. This building, the furthest west building, the long north-south building on the west property line, would only have doors that face to the east. So the back wall would be just a solid wall. And then the same thing on the littler building that's on the east property line. There would be no doors that face to the east, and they would only face west. And then the 2 big buildings that are in the front would only have doors that face north and south. They wouldn't have doors on the ends. And then our detention pond that serves this facility is down here at the south end. It all basically drains to the south, so it was a logical place to put the pond. And there'll be no on-site sales person here. It's done remotely through his office in Danville and through the internet. So there won't be an office staff person here all the time. There'll be maintenance people in and out to clean the property and make sure that everything is in order. But there will not be somebody here on a regular basis. One thing I probably should show you is, because it came up on the last one, was on the second sheet, is our landscaping plan, and we are showing planting trees up between the security fence that surrounds the property and the County Road 75 South Road, east of the proposed driveway, and then a few that are west of the proposed driveway. But the reason why there's not so many on the west side of the driveway is because there's a pretty substantial drainage swale that goes around the outside of the property that drains the property from Ken Edmonds' farm on the north side of the road. There's a lot of drainage that runs from the north side of the road and then actually goes around the property and off to the west. So there's not a lot of room there to put landscaping on that side because there's a pretty deep ditch there. So the plantings that would go there, we added them to the other side of the road, or the other side of the entrance drive. So it's the same number of plants that would be required across the road frontage. We just position them in a little different arrangement to fit them all on the property. I think that's it. So I'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Well, I know when you fixed that waterway down through there, that really made a big improvement on there. I know Kenny was happy.
Is there like a ditch underneath the road?
Used to be because there was all the pig lots, he had hogs in that former owner in there, and that was all stopped up. It was awful.
It was a mess.
What are the two properties to the east there?
What, Dwayne owns them. There's a rental house, you can see it in the photograph.
In the middle property.
On the middle property, there's a rental house on the middle property, and then the rest of it, for now, is vacant. You may see a petition on that at some point in the future, maybe. Kind of depends on how this one goes.
He fills all them buildings, I'm guessing he'll be back.
We may be back. I hope we're back.
So how does that work? Can just anybody come in, or is that secure too? Do you have to have
So they have a code, so the,
in the entrance, I mean, the main entrance,
yeah, so there's a gate,
right?
and it has a code.
Yeah,
People that are tenants,
can get in there.
they can get in there with their code. They have a unique code.
And then all around the buildings, is it all just like wall to wall? The landscaping is around the whole property, but in between, I mean, in between the three buildings, it's wall to wall asphalt or
Asphalt, stone.
stone? Okay.
Mhm.
Is this what they're gonna look like?
Yes. Those are pictures of buildings that he just built on the property that's in New Winchester.
Seen them, they look good. So what ends up primarily being stored?
I'm sorry.
What ends up primarily being stored then? I know it seems like the new Winchester one are larger units, like for boats and RVs, like you said. Will this be similar?
So that, Dwayne.
Please ask me to step up to the microphone if there's any questions. This facility will be all large buildings, so there'll all be spaces that can either store a large RV, so they're 15 by 50s with 16-foot tall walls, 12-foot by 14-foot doors, and then all the 35-foot spaces, which and I think they're marked on the map which ones are which, are 15 by 35s, also with 12-foot by 14-foot doors, 60-foot tall walls. So they're all, that facility will be all large storage for RVs and boats. So
There'd be no reason for an RV to be outside in those kind of storage units where it's just.
we have some outside storage in all of our facilities, but when this was completed, it'll be all inside storage only on that front section.
If there's any outside storage, it would be cheaper part.
Yeah, we haven't actually did outside storage here, which we'll probably do some in the back. And we usually do some outside storage until we build the buildings, with the idea that we move from the outside to inside. And that facility is approved, I believe that whole 20 acres is approved for inside and outside storage. But when that's completed, it'll be all, we did the one at 200 South, and it has a few less, I think we have 46 and 48, 46 RV spaces, 48 boat spaces there, which are 100% full. And I think it took us probably about 2.5 to 3 years to fill that space up. One of the things that surprised us is we were drawing a lot of people out of Noblesville, Carmel, Terre Haute, Bloomington. They're driving quite a ways because they've got expensive RVs and there's no place that they can store them, that they can find, that they have an individual space that's just theirs. They find places that they can store that are with 100 people, or like the fairgrounds and stuff like that, and they're not year-round spaces also. And people have $300,000-$400,000 RVs and they want to put them in by themselves instead of, they don't want to store them outside and they don't want to store them with other people.
So they have electrical hookup for the up or what?
Some of the spaces do, the majority of the spaces don't, they're just basically cold storage spaces.
So if it has electricity, can they work on their stuff there?
No, what we have is basically, so some of the big RVs have, they're like cars, so they have, the electric draws down all the time, okay?
Oh,
And
depletes
so,
the
because they have
battery, yeah.
TVs and this and that and the other. So basically, they're putting, when they plug it into the wall, from my understanding, it keeps the batteries all charged
Yeah.
and it's like a twinkle charger type thing so that they don't run the batteries.
Is that just part of their fee to rent the space, or do they have to pay utility,
If they have electric in their space, they do have to pay for that, yes. It's an addition, it's more,
whatever they use?
it's more money because they're getting more service.
Yeah.
I would imagine with it being boats and RVs primarily, it's probably pretty light coming. Typically, people just drop off.
That I don't know. I'm on the lot, the other two lots quite regularly. And I can't say what happens there in the evenings, but I know that I might go down there in the morning, like during Memorial Weekend. I was down there pretty early in the day and on Thursday and Friday. By the time Saturday rolled around, it was pretty empty down there. I don't know about the people who are storing inside. That's the people that's on the outside, because I see their stuff come and go. But they have 24-hour access. And that's one of the reasons we position the big buildings kind of on the property line. That way, they're not really shining lights into the neighborhood. The one side building that way. Somebody's down there with him.
Do you have any questions? Do not. Casey? Cody?
Say I do.
This is a public hearing, so if anybody in the audience have anything they want to say, please step forward, give your name, address, and no? Good man. Your wife's taught you well. Hearing nothing, public hearing's closed. This is the same as the last one. We can either approve the site plan, deny it, or approve the site plan with conditions.
There are some items under the landscape screening on the case tab. And I would like to know what their intentions are for those items, and then also, on the lighting, if there's any to their lighting.
Okay?
We can work on it. I'm okay with that.
So I haven't seen the case summary, excuse me, so I haven't seen the case summary, but I'll tell you that whatever lighting plan Dwayne's proposing to do here will make it compliant with the town's ordinance and regulations. And as far as landscaping goes, if we're still missing some landscaping requirements, we'll work through those with Lisa on whatever's required there. We didn't intend to come to this meeting and ask for relief from landscaping or ask for relief from lighting. We intend to comply.
My question on the landscaping, just so that understands what I'm talking about, is on the east property line, there would be a buffer yard requirement because there's a residence there. Owns that property and will probably develop, I assume. So my point on that, I don't have an issue, because if they put it in at some point, but I think we need blessing from the planning commission. So you basically need the installation, landscaping side.
Yeah, because he is the owner of that adjacent property.
Right.
If
But
you
it
didn't
is-
own it, what would be required?
He sold it as a residence.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And the requirement in a nutshell, is it like a buffer or?
Yes.
Right, it would be like
Just between the two?
trees and shrubs and stuff. the level of landscaping would be required. But the ordinance says if it's next to residential use or district. So it's not zoned for residential, but it's being used for residential. Just wanted to make sure that you understood they're not proposing any landscaping there. And at some point in time,
And if we didn't specify that, it wouldn't automatically happen if a new property owner purchased that? It wouldn't, he wouldn't, he could demand that, I guess, or? Oh. Okay.
Better just part of the motion.
Cody,
I'll leave that one to you. I did the first one.
That the screening would not be required at this time, only if that property is sold to another person as residential use. Makes sense. I'm guessing that's not gonna happen, but
I'm guessing.
but it's there if it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things change, you know. The way you're building these things and filling them up, you're gonna be needing that ground to build some more, which means the house will probably disappear. What was your other, was that the only question you had?
The lighting was addressed.
The lighting wasn't a problem, was it?
the lighting, they don't show any parking lot. The buildings will have
What
That's
does
a-
that mean? I saw that in the packet.
the wall pack.
Does that just come on if somebody moves, or if it's, or is it dawn to
Well,
dusk?
I don't know how they will come on, but they're downward lit so that they don't, extend out beyond the property. To dawn, the wall pack lighting.
On, and basically, they're shining down so they don't shine off the property. And basically, the buildings that are, the lights are basically lighting the parking lot at the same time, and they're also up, I think they're up 14 foot, so they're, basically, we're using them as like a pole light or whatever, but we don't put a pole in there because basically the buildings are 60 foot apart, and they'll have lights opposed to each other so that they light that whole area up between the buildings. And
What you've got down there?
that's what we've got down there, and I actually think it's lighter than daylight down there at nighttime. They really throw off a good light.
Because
So,
each building's putting off light.
yeah, and
there's
so
a
they
whole
kind of
area in
stagger them a little,
between.
when they've got buildings opposed to each other.
Yeah.
Kind of stagger there. If not, they're shining out about 35 foot into what I would call the drive lane. So if you got opposing buildings, they're basically lighting that whole area up really good.
Okay.
And the only other thing, on this, but the sign appears to be just a couple of feet from the right of way. It's before, so, that can be tweaked, right?
Your leasing office is gonna be out there?
That's just a copy of the
That's just
sign.
that's not gonna look like that out
That's just to
there.
show you what the landscaping around the signage
Oh,
will be.
okay. You say what? It was only what?
2 feet, it looks like it's 2 feet from the right of way.
Not a problem?
Not a problem.
All right, any other questions? Anybody?
What's the difference between a retention pond and a detention?
We get asked that question all the time, don't we, Walt? Yeah, they're
Is
basically the
is
same
it the
thing.
same thing? It's where water goes, it doesn't stand there, it just is there in case you have extra water?
Pension
There is a
pond could have,
difference.
Yeah?
Most people don't know the difference and they use them interchangeably. Detention pond holds the water.
Okay.
A detention pond slows the water down and slowly. Generally,
So that it doesn't erode anything.
so it reduces the load downstream. Overwhelm. That is the intent of your ordinance. That's the additional hard surface. Releases it more slowly so that everything isn't
Yeah.
overwhelmed. Runoff. Fortunate, but today's society using it mixed up.
Everybody says retention. I was reading the packet and I thought, oh, there's a misspelling here. I'd never heard detention pond. Interesting.
well, a good example, if I'm not mistaken, if you go up Avon, there's a pond there that catches all that water, but there's always water there. And they've got a aerator in and everything. That's kind of a detention pond.
No, that's a retention.
Or
It
detention.
depends, it depends on whether there's a pipe coming out of it or not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
To let it go on?
Well,
you mean?
it probably has an overflow, I'm sure it does. Because it fills up, it goes up and down.
Technically, it's a detention pond.
So the one we got over at our church there on Mill Street, detention pond, because it'll fill up, but then it's dry most of the
Have a pipe coming out of
time. Yes.
Then it's a detention pond.
Okay.
it. That's what I'm saying. It's gotten so confusing and so mixed up that nobody makes any distinction. Very few, most all of them have some water.
If it gets to that level.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
out of the bottom of them, or in the middle. Some of them have permanent pools. You just let the storage water out. Then, it just lets it out slowly.
Wexford.
So when it's letting water out, it's a detention pond, but if it's holding it below the pipe, it's a retention. Exactly, exactly.
And that's part of why we have so much confusion, because it can actually.
Be both things.
Are there any FAA restrictions or regulations as it relates to lighting in this facility for this?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, so we should probably check. We did do a project that was much closer to the airport, but we did do a project where we did have to go to the FAA. We've got to get a permit for every single light pole. Actually, I don't think it would come into play at this facility because the lights are not on a pole. The veteran facility that is just straight north of the airport, we did that project, and we had to get a permit for every single, we had to get 19 permits. We had to get a permit for every single light pole there. Yeah,
Because of the because it was so close to the
because it
airport.
was in the path, the flight path, and they had height to them because they were taller than the buildings.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
200 East?
So we're out of the airport.
Oh, it looked like in the sheet that Banning Engineering sent out today, there were a couple issues, and I think you were CC'd on that. Have those been looked at or addressed?
So I'll tell you this, we got our plans to Walt late. Walt busted his butt to do a review. We had a handful of comments. We replied. He again busted his butt and reviewed those. And I think there were a handful of comments left after the second review. Those we have not resubmitted yet, but we will comply.
Okay.
So thanks to Walt for us being here
So
tonight.
there's 3 items left, so we could say it's
It's
subject to the latest letter of June 7th. Questions? Not.
I make a motion. Contingent on the thing Walt was talking about, if the property to the east sells, and the 3 items left in the letter from June 7th. Or is that on there?
Need to include that.
So included this letter, but what were you talking about? What do you call that? If the landscape requirement between the 2 properties? If the property sells to a new property owner?
Never known. Residential.
Why do you have to specify that? If it's commercial, it wouldn't have to be,
Similar commercial use.
There's no landscape
Goes away. So it's only if it's sold as residential use, have that landscape.
well, I could go in and buy this and put in storage units.
You might not sell it.
Well, you'd have to get it rezoned to the proper use first. Yes, if somebody bought it and rezoned it, came in, got the site plan approval to put storage units in, no landscaping.
Which it is zoned. So for the right
Right.
price, it probably would be for sale.
Right. Okay. The distinction, yeah. Then the motion is to approve this contingent if, with that contingency, a landscaping requirement, and then the 3 items left in the letter from Walt on the 7th. Second.
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Another chance.
Jim Phillips, roll call.
Yes.
Loris,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Cody.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time
It
this
is
evening.
approved. Do you have any reports, young lady? Do you have any reports that you want? Don't know about anything going on next month yet? What about the BZA? Nothing? Okay.
Like,
Okay, so what's going in down where the old, Burger King was? I heard it was a restaurant, but I'm not sure what kind.
Patios.
They will serve breakfast, but it's not.
Aw, that's unfortunate.
That's all I know about that one. I think that they are, talk to Barry.
Hopefully the
Well, I heard it was-
outside too.
The wife of one of the guys that works out there, or something, got 1 or 2 else. What I heard.
One in Bloomington? Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Somewhere south.
Well, the billing was saved because the gas company had already cut the service off, ready for them to tear that building down, so they had to go back out there and reattach it. Nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion is second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?